Okay, we have that. We have all of this stuff to get to still, but I should get y'all up to speed immediately from the last paint batch. I did get those 4 3/4 lock washers painted that I had omitted from the drawbar batch. So all of that stuff has been added. It's all tightened down. The entire system is ready to go. And welcome back, everyone. It's good to see you all partaking in the show once again. We have a long way to go and a short time to get there. Cue the Jerry Reed background music. Let's put a seat together. I've been going back and forth whether or not to bolt this seat base down to the tractor to make it a lot more solid to work, but then I'm caged in by fenders and pedals and everything else. I'm just going to keep it on the painting stand for now, and we'll see if that ends up being solid enough. Everything turned out really well for the whole seat system, though. Happy about that. But first we will throw, you can tell I'm prepared. Come on, get out of there. There, we'll throw that nylon sleeve in that I made. There we are. And then the steel center, we've got washer on the ground, washer on the floor. It'll be just fine. First washer in place. And back that up with a rubber bushing because that will kind of hold the rest of it in, at least for that side. And second washer picked back up off the floor. Slide that one down in where it needs to be. Second bushing in on top of that. And we should be ready to assemble to the seat base. Now my spidey senses are telling me that for how far out these bushings are sticking out of the tube here at the front, that this might be a bit of a struggle to get that started in between those flanges on the base. See if we can compress that rubber enough. Lift this side a little bit so we can get a little bit more compressibility there. There, this one started. Yep, I think we can work it down now. There we go. Good tight fit though. I'd rather it be a little tight than way too loose. And after a few minutes of careful aligning, I was able to make the bolts start on each side. So remember again, we are eliminating the lock washer and going with the fold over lock, the custom squatch job for this. So I left the locks just in primer coat also because when I fold these, it would have taken most of the red paint right off that I would have put on them. So we'll just go back and touch those up with the brush later. I don't know about you, but I feel better now. Good tight pivot. It takes quite a bit to hinge that up. It'll just hold the spring in that much better. Time for the shock. And it comes with this steel sleeve bushing between these rubber bushings up at the top. This gets deleted and the through bolt takes its place. Otherwise the bolt is not going to fit through that steel sleeve. That's a much better fit, much looser fit than the bottom pivot down there. I also put a little bit of tire lube on these rubber bushings. That helps this through bolt to go through a lot better. Okay, everybody, now I've decided it's going to be easiest to bolt the seat to the tractor, because to get the bottom end of the shock into the mount, I'm going to have to pull down on the back really hard to compress the spring, and the wooden painting stand was starting to creak and crack a little bit, so I didn't want to have an episode. So we'll get this bolted in place and move on to that next step. Here on the Squatch Ranch, we always utilize the furthest back position for the seat, because nobody here has short legs. Plus it keeps Rick Bork from stealing your tractor. All right, let's try to compress the spring now. First, we've got this intermediate steel washer that goes between the rubber bushings and up against the steel of the base, seat base frame. Oh yeah, that's a lot better. So rubber bushing goes on the absolute bottom, and then we have steel washer with an acorn nut. And oh boy, this is gonna be fun. Okay, so things got a little bit out of hand. I've actually sat on the tractor for the first time. That's the only way I could compress that spring enough to get down there with both hands and actually start the washer and the nut, but we got it. It turned into quite the affair, so I just left the camera off. It could have been a little bit comical to get recorded, but if this lower nut ever comes loose, this spring is going to kick the seat pan up with such force, it would be a very startling event, to say the least. Okay, everybody, seat pan time. I did have to scuff and respray that because the red paint that was on it wasn't a perfect match to the rest of the tractor, so that's why we got all the masking on the cushion. Let's see if we can do this all in one shot. Looking good. Okay, everybody, I just received an urgent phone call that means I need to spend the next hour on the road. Let's go. Well, everybody, we have a cylinder head back again. That means we're not thinking about shiny tractor parts anymore. Nope, we're right back into engine building mode. So they put a lot of work into it. I told them I wanted it to be right. So it came back fully loaded, valves, springs, keepers, bolted on, ready to go, cleaned up, pre-lubed, everything. So what they did, they tanked it out to clean it. They magnafluxed it. They pressure tested it, could not find any cracks. They renewed the manifold surface. They renewed the head gasket surface. They replaced all 8 of the valve seats because the old ones were hammered in way too deep. Fitted the new valves, and I even checked the valve face recession. They're all equal. That means we have equal volume combustion chambers on all 4 cylinders. That goes a long way toward having a smooth running engine. It wasn't cheap, but it gave me peace of mind. It bought me peace of mind that this subassembly should be good to go. So we've got the new head gasket from the gasket set, and all we can get anymore are these steel-clad ones, which I'm not really a fan of, but the old original copper clads were so much better, but we make do with what we can get these days. So let's put that on the engine. And I'll admit, everybody, coating head gaskets just seems wrong to me still to this day, because I was taught to always put these together dry, but that was before we had to contend with these steel clad ones. And I have had a lot better luck with these ever since I've followed other people's advice and just started coating both sides of these steel clad head gaskets with the Permatex Super 300 Forma gasket. Otherwise, you can run into problems with these wanting to seal. They'll seep oil, they could seep coolant. It just helps everything to last that much better. There's been a few questions lately about what I torque fasteners to, or do I torque fasteners, because I don't normally show it a lot on video. Well, this is about the only scenario on one of these engines that the service manual even gives us a torque spec. And even at that, it says to tighten the stud nuts evenly and to a torque of 70 foot-pounds. That's it. That's all they give you. They don't give you an approved pattern, nothing. So I just start at the center and alternate outward, and I did the first sequence at 20 foot-pounds because I want to just sneak up on it. And this is 40 foot-pounds right now. So after we are all set at 40, then I'll put the larger torque wrench on and we'll click them up to 70. So other than that, they don't give you really much for torque specs. I think rod cap bolts have a torque spec, as well as main caps. Beyond that, you just need to either refer to the general torque charts that list recommended torque by bolt or stud diameter, thread pitch, and grade, or just know what you're doing enough just to make sure everything is sufficiently tight. What is all of this commotion? Power company's here. Cleaning up storm damage from last winter. Nice. Push rods are next. Rockers up next. All we have to do is line in the oil supply tube with the passage in the cylinder head. Make sure that's all happy. And then after that, ensure that all the ball studs on the tail ends line in with the cups on top of the push rods. Setting valves now. 17 thousandths hot is the clearance spec on both intakes and exhaust. We're not hot, we're cold right now, so if you want to add a thousandths or two to that, that works just fine. I just go down the line, 1, 3, 4, 2, set them all in sequence. I know some people like to decide which ones they can set all at once. I've never really done that. I just like doing them one cylinder at a time when I know they're at top dead center. Just gives me an opportunity to make sure everything is turning smoothly without a bind. We've got the crankcase breather jumper line now that has the small inlet hole toward the front. Helps to draw any blow-by vapors that settled in up top under the valve cover. To seal it all up now, here's something I've talked about before, but I'll mention it again. I take the valve cover gasket and I only put sealer on the bottom side of it because you always have to try to cope with your friends texting you while you record, so your phone is constantly sounding like a train whistle in the background. But beyond that, you always have to take the valve cover back off to recheck the valve lash hot and to do a cylinder head retorque. And I found that if I have the gasket stuck in place on the cylinder head, if any oil has pooled up in here, it helps to hold it in once the cylinder head is off so that it doesn't go running out all over the place. So that just works the best for me. Another piece I want to put on right now is the water pump. And I didn't have a whole lot to say about this anyway because I didn't even take it apart. I completely rebearinged and resealed it last time, got all new packings up the front, and I had no reason to do anything but just clean it. So that's all I did. So we're not missing out on anything by skipping straight to the installation on this one. Plus, I think it'll paint just fine on the front of the engine. It'll be easier having it on here rather than trying to find a way to balance it on something and then get it painted and moved. And at this point, we've got it hooked to the engine hoist and we're ready to pick it off of the engine stand because the rest of the pieces all go on the back. The bell plate, the flywheel, the clutch disc, the pressure plate. But unfortunately, we spent so much time on the road today going to get the cylinder head. This is all we've got time to do tonight. But I want to show you all this part. I need to get a good thumbnail picture of this to attach to the video because invariably it gives me three choices of me looking like I'm in the middle of a sneeze. So a little bit of a lower profile looking up at the engine adds for the dramatic effect. There we are. We didn't get much of the new seat in the background, but that's moot point. Oh, it's nice having that cylinder head on there. Hopefully now we are finally out of the wilderness on this build. It's been a long time coming, but I'm bumping into everything on the clothesline, don't even care. So yeah, next time we'll pick up right where we left off here, get everything put onto the back of that engine, get it all masked, put plugs where they need to be, do the prep for paint, and make that thing red so that we can get it on the front of the chassis and clean up everything that's been sitting on the floor that's been in my way this whole time. Thank you for watching, everyone. Hate to cut and run on you right now, But if I don't, it's going to be another day's delay to get this out to y'all, and I wanted to let you know the cylinder head showed up. Thanks for watching, and I hope to see you back next time.